Hey guys, if you're wondering why the Resurrection F, Broly, and also superhero movies weren't here on this video, well, it's because Resurrection F had a promotional manga for its movie release. The Broly movie had a small little panel of Goku and Vegeta fighting Broly, and also the superhero arc isn't fully done since Volume 24 covers the last bit of it, and I don't have that here because it's only in Japan, not in the US, and also the manga is having a few issues with ownership, so I can't really talk about that arc now. So I also wanted to say if you see a headliner like this, it's because either I messed up on the video or I said something very incorrect, or it's just a small little fun part as well that I kind of forgot in the manga but saw it either way. I'm gonna be butchering and messing up a lot of parts in the arc, so that's why I have it there. And also, I just wanted to say that I'm so glad that you guys are watching this video because I put a lot of effort into making this video. It's easily my favorite project I put a lot of effort into as well, and easily one of my favorites I've ever made as well. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you at the end as well. Enjoy.
So, I'm back and I decided let's talk about the Dragon Ball Super manga. I read it throughout, I think, probably late 2024, and I finished it around spring of, or maybe not spring, but probably around the beginning of 2025. So, without further ado, let's begin my review on the Dragon Ball Super manga. DJ play my
Switch that up, move me. Switch that up, move me. Switch that up, we wanna do on and on again. It's not it up, 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 up. It's not, it's not,
Dragon Ball Super's manga debut happened with its serialization around June 2015, and then eventually it ended up and started making its monthly debut on monthly V Jump, where it followed the story of Goku throughout his entire journey of trying to be able to collect and expand upon the universe with the series. It was also done by Toriyama, and also it was illustrated by Toyotaro.
Dragon Ball Super takes place years after the Buu saga. The main character Goku is ends up being on a radish farmer job, and he ends up just being able to sell his vegetables to be able to give and make money as well. And also we get to see the main antagonist of the arc being known as Beerus, which his goal is to get the Super Saiyan God legend that he's been searching for, and eventually Goku is just busy doing his daily day life. He gets money from Mr. Satan, and then we automatically move over to Bulma's birthday, where she ends up just celebrating her birthday because, well, I mean, technically it was like her 30th birthday party or so in the Battle of Gods movie, but eventually it was just removed completely. Afterwards, we get to see Beerus fully come over to Bulma's party and completely just thrash it, just slapping Bulma. Vegeta gets mad, fails, and then eventually Goku comes over to perform the Super Saiyan God ritual. Afterwards, Goku and Beerus then have a fight. Goku doesn't end up winning, but at least he does something to be able to take down Beerus. But eventually, Beerus just keeps the planet alive, and also Goku because he feels like he'll be able to surpass him afterwards. So pretty much the Super Saiyan God ritual wasn't really all that big of a deal, and also the Battle of Gods arc was just pretty much a little, I guess, lacking in terms of direction because of the fact that Toyotaro just decided to illustrate it because it was written and done by Toriyama for the movie. But it doesn't matter. Right? It's pretty much just I give this arc pretty much like I guess a 7 out of 10. It was completely when it comes to adapting Battle of Gods, it doesn't really do that much at all. So that's like pretty much the first arc done. Next up, we're going to be moving on towards Universe 6 versus Universe 7. Editor's note, yeah, sorry, I forgot to talk about the Goku versus Beerus fight. But either way, the fight isn't really that big of a deal because Goku just goes all the way to Super Saiyan 3 and then just says this is his strongest form. But Beerus then eventually just beats him. And I made like a small misstep on that one. I really did like the fight though in the manga. I just didn't really bring it up because, I had a terrible time remembering everything because I'm more used to the anime than actually reading through the manga, but I did read the manga fully through. But I mean, sorry for my miss part on this one. I just hope that you guys realize that it was an accident. Didn't mean to make this misstep, but yeah, I just wanted to bring up this fight. It's pretty good though. Well, moving on to the next arc though. The Universe 6 versus 7 arc takes place in Beerus's planet, where Goku and Vegeta train with Whis. Eventually, someone comes over to Beerus's planet, that of course being Beerus's twin brother Champa, the Universe 6's god of destruction, and Vados, the angel who watches Universe 6 with them. And eventually, Beerus and Champa have a competition to see which food of their universes is the best. Beerus wins with the cup noodles. Eventually, Champa changes the competition and decides to have a tournament where both his universe and Beerus's universe end up fighting together in a 5v5 battle. Whoever wins gets different rewards. Champa wins, he gets Beerus's planet Earth. Chapo ends up losing. He gives Beerus over the 6 Super Dragon Ball orbs that he ended up collecting. Eventually, you also end up getting information about all the other universes as well. That we says that there are 12 universes entirely, and that Universe 6 is the one that Champa has, obviously, and Universe 7 is the one that Beerus runs over. Eventually, Champa leaves to be able to set everything up and prepare for the tournament. Same thing with Goku as he goes over to Bulma to make the Super Dragon Ball radar so he can be able to find the final Dragon Ball that they need to be able to make the wish. Eventually, Bulma has a hard time being able to find out where the Super Dragon Ball is, so she goes over to Lord Zuno with Jocko to be able to find information about this. We get information from Zuno that the Super Dragon Balls were created by a special Super Namekian by the name of Lord Zanma, who ends up basically making the Super Dragon Balls and being able to scatter across. It takes a total of 42 years to be able to wait for the new access for the Dragon Balls because of how powerful the Super Dragon Balls are. They take a lot of time to be able to get. Eventually, Bulma and Jocko end up leaving, getting all the information, but they don't get access to the latest location of where to find the Super Dragon Balls. Eventually, Universe 6 and 7 go over to the nameless planet that Champa picks to start the battle. Eventually, they start having a quiz to find out who would go into the battle. Boo and Boo is the only character that actually doesn't end up fighting in this one. Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo all pass, and all the rest of the fighters from Champa's universe ends up passing as well. We end up seeing also the team that Champa also has, and it's pretty much, I guess, all right for the most part. Eventually, we get to see a battle between Goku and his opponent, which was, I think, Bortamo. I think. Eventually, he ends up beating Bortamo by using a judo throw. Then Goku goes up against Frost. Frost ends up basically going into his true form, like his real form. Eventually, Goku and him end up fighting. He ends up making Goku pass out by using by punching him or something like that. Eventually, Goku gets knocked out, and then Piccolo ends up fighting. Eventually, Piccolo automatically gets obviously the same treatment as Goku, where he somehow gets a little paralyzed by Frost. Eventually, Jocko ends up finding out that what Frost was using was technically poison, and that's against the rules. So eventually, Piccolo ends up switching spots with Vegeta. Vegeta automatically just takes him down like it's nothing. And then eventually, he fights against Magneta. Magneta ends up basically having a good fight with him. Eventually, he loses. And then we move on to the Saiyan of Universe 6, that of course being Kaba. Kaba is from a planet called Planet Sadala, a planet that from Universe 7 was actually destroyed and conquered and eventually blown up and then had to have another planet known as Vegeta, where they ended up being on a new planet. Eventually, Goku ends up seeing this too, as well as Vegeta ends up battling with Kaba and also realizing that Kaba isn't really able to access Super Saiyan because he even wants him to help him. Eventually, Vegeta ends up fighting with Kaba and he ends up teaching him and training him how to unlock Super Saiyan. Eventually, Vegeta defeats him quickly by using another form. Eventually, we end up meeting the final member of the Universe 6 team, which of course being their ace in the hole, the the assassin of Universe 6 hits. Hit ends up automatically defeating Vegeta by using a special kind of technique that he uses for assassination, that of course being his time skip. He defeats Vegeta effortlessly, and then eventually Goku ends up joining into the battle. Because of his battle with Frost, he was able to come back and fight again. Eventually, Goku ends up basically talking to Hit about how old he was in the anime. Technically, I don't know if it's in the manga, but eventually he ends up having a battle. I really like how Toyotaro does this. I really like how he makes Goku go through different forms, and I especially really love the way how he did Goku going from God all the way to Blue in a really cool manga panel, actually. And eventually the two end up fighting, but eventually, Goku just loses because he realizes that he can't really fight Hit normally in these types of rules. So he gets himself knocked out, and then he ends up having to send out the final person, of course, being Monaka, the person that Beerus ends up basically having as their final fighter for the tournament arc. Eventually, Monaka just fires a punch at Hit, and eventually Hit just purposefully lets him win, and then Champa gets pissed off. Eventually, he gets mad and tries to take down his team, and then we get to see the person that rules over all the universes come over. That, of course, being Grand Zeno. Grand Zeno is the one that rules over all the universes, and actually is the one that basically just makes all these universes disappear or reappear whenever he wants to. He's interested in how they started a tournament, and that he also wants to make his own tournament as well. And eventually, Goku meets Zeno, and they end up becoming great friends. Actually, with Goku, I really like this scene where Goku gets to show like his happy and going side and his positivity. I really like this, his friendly side about him. And eventually, the tournament ends off with um, Beerus declaring that he is the winner of this tournament and competition, and he gets Champa's 6 Dragon Balls. Eventually, they were fighting on a Super Dragon Ball the entire time, and they end up summoning the Super Dragon, and Beerus ends up wishing on the Super Dragon that Champa is allowed to come over to his Earth so he can be able to eat food over there as well. So, I mean, the arc was, I mean, that's pretty much just the end of the entire arc. I think the arc was pretty great overall. I really liked the arc, especially the way how Toyotaro illustrates everything. I give this arc a bit higher on the part. I give it like an 8.5 out of 10. I think this was a really enjoyable arc. My only big problem with the arc is that I kind of feel like that some of the characters were trying my best to like get into my interest, but I really do like the arc though. It's a pretty good arc. I actually really enjoy it a lot for what it was trying to do. I really like it a lot. I think the arc is pretty solid for the most part. I think it's pretty cool. I think it is great. We're moving on to the next arc, the Goku Black arc. The Goku Black arc takes place during in the future timeline where Trunks fights against the man of the hour himself, Goku Black. Goku Black forces him to be able to get out of the future timeline and then go into the present timeline using the time machine that he got to be able to go over to Goku and Vegeta so he can be able to ask them for assistance to take down this new foe. Eventually, they go into the future timeline. Vegeta's the first one to step up to fight against Goku Black. Goku Black then turns into a Super Saiyan, and they end up fighting. Eventually, Vegeta ends up taking the upper hand as well by transforming, and eventually, Black sees this and turns into one of his amazing forms, that being known of Super Saiyan Rose, which eventually is really cool. It's cool form. Eventually, Vegeta gets outclassed by Goku Black, and also we get to see a new person come over, that being, of course, a Kai, and we don't really know who he is. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta get outclassed by these new foes, and they find it very difficult to take down. They leave the future timeline, and then go over to the present one to train a bit more, and eventually learning more information about that Kai that was over there. It turns out that Kai was actually named Zamasu. Zamasu is actually a specific type of supreme guy that ends up actually being with a person named Gowasu, Gowasu's apprentice, as a matter of fact. Eventually, he ends up being part of the future timeline and realizing the fact that he pretty much despises mortals because of how powerful they were. After seeing how strong Goku was showing in his battle against Hit, in the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament, he ends up realizing that after realizing how powerful humans can get and slash mortals, he starts to have a despisement towards them. Eventually, Beerus ends up finding out about what Supreme Kais have been doing, and eventually Zamasu gets erased and destroyed by Beerus with the Hakai ability. Afterwards, Goku and Vegeta head over to the future timeline to find out if Zamasu even gets eliminated, and eventually it doesn't work because it turns out that Zamasu and Goku Black ended up having something called a time ring, which allows them to get rid of any kind of bad casualties that happen in the present for them. And eventually, so even if they got rid of Zamasu in the present, he's still alive because he has a time ring. Eventually, Goku Black ends up saying that he's not really Goku turning evil. He's most likely somebody who ends up basically just, being possessed by someone, which eventually Goku was possessed by Zamasu because Zamasu used the Super Dragon Balls to be able to go over and switch bodies with Goku so he can be able to have his immense power. Eventually, Goku ends up realizing this. They end up fighting, and eventually, we get to see some brand new things happening for this one. We get to see Vegeta and his progression with him basically using his Super Saiyan God to Super Saiyan Blue ability. And eventually, Goku fights Zamasu in his Super Saiyan God form as well, eventually forcing the two to fuse into Fusamasu. And afterwards, Goku and Vegeta then fuse into my second favorite fusion, of course, being Vegito. Eventually, Vegito does end up fighting Fusamasu, but it's only for so little. And eventually, they end up getting defused, and Goku has no choice but to be able to use this new form that he learned while training called Perfected Super Saiyan Blue. Honestly, I really like this form a lot. It's a pretty cool form and represents key control very well. And eventually, Goku ends up fighting Zamasu to the point where he has no choice but to be able to use the, I guess, strategy of being able to just wait for Zamasu to be able to get out of his fusion. But eventually, the fusion ends up working and defusing them, but it doesn't work because they end up basically just not refusing to be separated, eventually causing themselves to be a paradox fusion. And they end up getting, merged together in a weird, venomous like way. And then eventually, Trunks ends up slicing the two with the energy based sword, and then it ends up just duplicating into multiple different Zamasus. Goku and Vegeta have to fight this duplicates of Zamasu, and I get one of the coolest panels of all time. It's really, really cool looking. But eventually, those Zamasus end up overwhelming them to the point where you know what happens in the anime, but it's a bit different. But Goku and Vegeta have no choice but to be able to use the tactic of calling out Zeno, the Zeno from the future timeline. And with that, Zeno ends up destroying that entire timeline with Zamasu. Yes, I know I'm a little upset about that too, but it's not a problem. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta get out of that timeline and go to the time machine with Trunks, as well as a person that was also in the time part with them, which was eventually known as Mai. Yeah, this version of Mai is basically just somebody who is there with Trunks. She died, all kind of trying to get him out of the timeline, but it turns out that she was still alive and hanging, and she was able to come over to the present timeline with Trunks. Eventually, they have no choice but to be in a separate timeline because Zeno destroyed it, and because of that timeline being destroyed, you also get to see a time ring actually being destroyed too because of that. And eventually, Trunks has no choice but to be able to be in a different timeline with him and another version of Mai too that are in their teenage years. And it's like, I don't understand why. I think the Goku Black arc is perfectly fine. I don't hate it by any means. I don't really hate the whole Goku being evil or stuff like that, even though he's not technically evil. It was someone possessing him. But I do really enjoy the Goku Black arc. I personally give it a solid, I guess, uh 7.5 out of 10. It's not a bad arc, but definitely leaves like a bad taste in people's mouths. But I still enjoyed it though. And on to the next arc though, which is personally one of my favorite arcs and introduced one of my favorite forms of all time for Goku. And that arc will be none other than the Tournament of Power slash Universal Survival arc. The Tournament of Power arc begins after the Goku Black arc, with Vegeta going over to Beerus' planet to be able to train, and he ends up using the perfected Super Saiyan Blue transformation that Goku uses in order to fight against Zamasu. Eventually, Goku goes over to the planet as well to be able to ask Beerus about the whole tournament that Zeno was going to be planning. Eventually, Goku goes over there himself using the Zeno button that he managed to get, and eventually he was able to go over there and speak with Zeno specifically about the tournament. And he said that he'll be making a special exhibition match for it. Eventually, the exhibition match begins, and it turns out that Goku has to set up a team to be able to make the Tournament of Power, but he'll have to do that after the exhibition match. A few days pass, and the exhibition match is here. Goku and all the other characters there, the gods of destructions from all the universes, all appear with their angels as well, and they all have a special, all free for all battle where they're all going after Beerus because of some special grudge that they've been having towards him after him falling asleep with a specific meeting that Zeno gave to them. Eventually, they all get stopped, and there's no victor in this exhibition match. Eventually, Goku goes up against someone from Universe 11, that of course being Topo. Eventually, they end up having a fight, and Goku obviously just ends up losing against Topo because of specifically his just battle IQ was just too dang good. Eventually, it says that Goku and the others will have to wait, I think, nearly about like a week or so, or maybe not. But eventually, Goku goes in and prepares for his team, as well as we also get special information and also a bunch of different scenes from different universes. We also get to see the main character of the series that for Universe 11. I mean the main, I guess, person that we'll be seeing, name Jiren, obviously, and Goku ends up going over to planet Earth to be able to recruit his members. We get Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, Android 17, 18, Krillin, and eventually we were supposed to be getting Boo, but he fell asleep and into I guess somewhat of a hibernating part. So eventually they end up bringing Frieza back from the dead, and so we get the team that we have now. Eventually, the tournament starts commencing, and we get to see like a lot of good fights in this tournament. We get to see all the other universes come together, and we get to see the humongous, I guess, arena that they're going to be fighting as well. And not only that, we get to see how everybody is just, really serious about this because Zeno is saying that every universe that actually ends up getting defeated will have their universes being erased. And so the tournament begins. Multiple universes go after each other, multiple of them get erased. I'm only going to be specifically talking about like highlighted fights that Toyotaro specifically illustrated. So I wanted to get over a specific fight. Caulifla and Kale, the two Saiyans females from Universe 6, end up fusing into Kefla. And eventually, instead of, Goku fighting them, Gohan is the one who ends up fighting Kefla. The two end up battling, but eventually they both get knocked out of the tournament ring. So eventually, Gohan has no choice but to be able to just, take the tie, as well as a bunch of other members of the Universe 6 and 7 tournament teams ended up getting knocked out. And eventually, Universe 11 stays on top with their main heavy hitters. Of course, being Dispo, Topo, and of course, the man of the hour himself, Jiren. Eventually, Goku ends up learning how to unlock a brand new technique by learning and remembering all the things that his masters gave him to unlock, personally, my favorite technique that Goku has ever used in a well written form as well, Ultra Instinct. Ultra Instinct is easily my favorite form throughout the entire series. It's essentially just a form that Goku has been building up and has been foreshadowed in the manga and as well in the anime as well. And I really do like this. Eventually, Goku doesn't have enough time to unlock Ultra Instinct, and he gets out of it. But eventually, Jiren ends up forcing him into a point where him and Vegeta have to work together. Vegeta ends up taking out Toppo before doing this, but they end up working together. And honestly, I get one of my favorite panels in all of the Dragon Ball Super manga where Goku and Vegeta just stand together, excited for the fight, and Vegeta and Goku end up battling to the point where Jiren has no choice but to take Vegeta down, and Goku has to reawaken Ultra Instinct again. Eventually, Goku ends up fighting Jiren, and Jiren ends up being able to keep up with him. And Goku gets to the point where he unlocks the perfected version of Ultra Instinct, which eventually the two end up continuously fighting until Goku ends up running out of time on his Ultra Instinct form, eventually being put into a corner where he isn't able to take on Jiren by himself. And eventually, Frieza comes out and attacks Jiren from behind, eliminating the two of them. And eventually, 17 becomes the last person standing there and becomes the only person from Universe 7 that actually survives the entire part after multiple different universes get eliminated as well. And also that means that instead of using the wish to for themselves and for him and for him as well, he ends up using the wish to be able to bring back all the universes that Zeno eliminated during the tournament, and eventually Goku and all the others go back to their universe, and we get to see Jiren as well, as he really admires that Goku was a really formidable foe. And that concludes the entirety of the Tournament of Power arc. Overall, I think this is the manga version of the Tournament of Power arc is honestly pretty freaking cool. I really, really didn't stop putting down the arc whenever I kept reading through it. Honestly, it gave me one of my favorite volume covers, that of course being volume 9 of the series. I really love it a lot, and honestly, I really think that the universe survival arc is really good, or tournament power, however you want to say this. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason why I'm not giving it like a 10 out of 10 is because I personally feel like that some of the other universes weren't really all that focused upon, which I mean, it would make sense because like it's a humongous tournament arc, but I feel like that when it comes to tournament arcs, I felt like Dragon Ball was the best with it because it talked about all these characters making it this far. But then they expand upon the universe, and I really wish we get to see some more world building with it. But it's just me. We're gonna go over this, I guess, probably another time with Dragon Ball Super. I'm not sure, but now we're moving on to the next arc, and the next arc is a manga exclusive arc, or and personally my favorite arc in the entirety of this manga, the Moral arc. The Moro arc takes place after the Broly movie. Goku and Vegeta are training in the gravity room at Capsule Corp, where Vegeta tells Goku if he ever had access to using Ultra Instinct, and Goku says he hasn't been able to tap into it after the Tournament of Power. Eventually, there's a noise coming out from Hercules' house, and it turns out to be that the Galactic Patrolmen are taking Buu away. And eventually, Vegeta ends up going after them with force, and then one of the specific Galactic Patrolmen, that of course being one of the leaders of it, Miras, ends up taking down Goku and Vegeta by using a stun gun that's specifically used to take them down. And then they wake up in the Galactic Patrol base where Mira says that the reason why they needed Boo was because there was a specific Kai that was stuck inside of his body after he absorbed them throughout his times with Bibbidi. Eventually, it says to the fact that the Kai that's in there is actually the one responsible for taking and sealing away one of the most dangerous criminals in all of space time. That, of course, being the GOAT's magic man himself, Moro. Moro was said to be someone that was so powerful that nobody could be able to take him down because of his special magic ability. The Grand Kai was the only one who was able to take him down by being able to seal him away. But ever since Boo absorbed him and lost his godly power, he ended up basically not being able to have him sealed anymore. And eventually the seal was broken. And Moro is out there basically going after planet and just somehow using his magical ability to destroy those planets. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta are being tasked to join the Galactic Patrolmen in order to be able to take them down. Because if he doesn't take them down, Moro will simply just be attacking and killing a bunch of innocent people. They end up going over to Namek, where Moro is also there as well. Moro is with some other person by the name of Raspberry, who is able to help him get out of the prison. Eventually, he ends up going over to Namek to be able to use the Namekian Dragon Balls to get his powers back. Goku and Vegeta are then distracted by Moro, and eventually Raspberry ends up going over to collect all the Namekian Dragon Balls. Eventually, he ends up using the Namekian Dragon Balls to bring Moro back to his full potential. Raspberry also uses a wish to be able to wish out his injuries, and then afterwards, Moro ends up backstabbing Raspberry by punching through his body, and eventually using the third wish to somewhat degree, we don't know yet. Until eventually Goku and Vegeta start battling against Moro, but they start to realize that their energy is starting to lose immediately. Well, it's because Moro's ability is the ability to steal and take away someone's energy from a planet or from a living being, and is able to drain their natural energy until they have nothing. Eventually, they'll start to decay, and the planet will also start to decay too, which is why he ended up stealing all the energy from planet Namek and then taking all of it away, especially the Namekians, as they drain all of their energy away. And eventually, the planet is no longer living anymore. Goku and Vegeta are stuck inside that planet as well until Goku is recovered by the Galactic Patrol, and Vegeta ends up leaving and getting away from planet Namek. And eventually, one of the Galactic Patrolmen tell him that they need to head over. But eventually, Vegeta said that he wants to stop somewhere. Eventually, he says that he wants to stop over at one of the places that Goku did to learn one of his most iconic attacks, instant transmission, at planet Yardrad. He ends up going over to planet Yardrad to be able to learn how to master a new type of spirit control. Meanwhile, Goku is training with Mirrors because Mirrors is technically an angel. He was an angel helped to be able, that was from the Grand Priest in order to be able to look after this universe. Afterwards, Goku and Mirrors end up training in a specific time chamber to be able to help Goku unlock his Ultra Instinct state. And not only that, but Moro is also attacking the Earth and planning on trying to drain all of its energy and to be able to take all that energy for himself to make his army stronger. And it also turns out that he used that third wish from the Namekian Dragon Balls to free all the prisoners from the Galactic Patrol jail. Eventually, they all go into multiple different planets, taking energy away with their machines to be able to give it to Moro. Eventually, Moro and some of his combatants end up coming over to the Earth to take it away. But the other Z fighters end up stopping Moro's plans, but not for so long. And not only that, it only took a lot for them to wait until Goku arrived. Goku comes back and starts taking on Moro with the Super Saiyan Blue ability. Eventually, he ends up realizing that it's not enough, and Moro tells him to use a special technique. And we get to see that Goku was training with Mirrors in order to be able to activate UI Sign or Ultra Instinct Sign automatically whenever he wants to. And Goku and Mirrors end up training each other in order to be able to get to the next level, which is why he was training him to get that state of being. Eventually, Goku and Moro end up fighting, and I really love the position that Toyotaro did for Goku's Ultra Instinct form. I really love that stance. Reminds me of a really cool martial arts stance that I saw from a movie. Eventually, Goku ends up fighting Moro, but Moro ends up trying his best to be able to drain all of his energy so he can't be able to do anything. Eventually, Goku is outclassed by Moro by draining all of his power, and he doesn't have enough energy to stay in his UI form. Eventually, Vegeta comes over and uses his instant transmission technique and finishes his training at planet Yardran, learning not only one, but two techniques. However, he doesn't want to use instant transmission anymore. Afterwards, he ends up battling against Moro, and he ends up using Moro's ability against him by being able to take away all of his energy by using a special technique called Force Spirit Fission. It's a technique that you learn from Yardrad, a special technique that has the ability to take away an opponent's energy that isn't actually theirs. So any energy like taking like the Spirit Bomb, where if you take that energy away from it, it completely returns all that energy back to the people that existed, which is why when he used that technique, he was able to turn all the energy that Moro took from different planets and give it back. That's why planet Namek ends up coming back to life, and the Namekians also come back to life too because they got their energy back. Eventually, Vegeta ends up taking on Moro, but eventually Moro is able to adapt to the technique and was able to stop him from using that technique on him anymore. Eventually, Vegeta's forced to not being able to move forward. Eventually, Moro ends up betraying one of his allies and uses their abilities and absorbs them in order to be able to turn into a brand new form. Eventually, Goku has no choice but to be able to take Moro down on his own and uses the full power of Ultra Instinct. He's able to tap into Ultra Instinct's full complete form for this battle. And Goku and Mirrors and Moro end up battling against each other, and eventually Moro is in a disadvantage. Goku tries his best to give him a second chance, but Moro sees exactly how evil of a person he really is and is fully admitting to seeing the destruction of the earth. Goku has given no choice but to kill him either way, and eventually Moro ends up absorbing himself onto the earth. And also, he ends up taking away um, Miras's ability to use fully Ultra Instinct. All right, I forgot to mention that Miras also ends up fighting Moro first, but then eventually he loses, not losing, but he disappears because he was using his angel powers. Eventually, Goku had no choice but to tap into Ultra Instinct, and then eventually Moro ends up taking away that technique. But because of Ultra Instinct being a very difficult form to use, it ends up making Moro having to have a hard time being able to control it. Eventually, he has to merge with the Earth to be able to do that. And so he ends up draining all of Goku's energy until Goku is able to unlock and get the new form of his. And he was able to also unlock and get his Ultra Instinct power again by Vegeta basically punching the earth to be able to give all that energy back to Goku. But it's not enough until Oob, who ends up having Majin Buu's other half, since he's technically Majin Buu's other version of himself, the evil version of him that actually has his godly powers. I didn't mention this, but the reason why the Grand Kai wasn't able to seal away Moro when he came out from when he was awakened from Majin Buu's body was because since Goku got killed away his other side that had his godly energy, that meant that he wasn't able to use it to take him down. But since Oob is here, he's able to use it. Eventually, Goku is able to punch through Moro and destroy the crystal on his head that he absorbed from one of his allies, and eventually takes away his ability to copy and also kills Moro entirely as well, since Vegeta was able to get him out of the earth thanks to Force Spirit Vision. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta end up finishing the request of being able to take down Moro, and they get medals and are awarded for being successful people. And so, Miras also returns back, but as a simple person. And now we get to see a picture of everybody successfully beating and destroying, taking down the intergalactic being known as Moro. Overall, I really love this arc of Dragon Ball Super. This is easily my favorite arc in the entire series. I really like it a lot, and I really do like how Moro is a really well done villain. I really like how a good of a character he really is, and I do like Ultra Instinct coming back. Honestly, it has some of my favorite panels and some of my favorite volumes too, which I really, really love a lot. And I can't wait to finally see what we're going to be getting for the next arc. And I really like this arc a lot. Now we're going over to the last and final arc that I'm going to be talking about, the Granola arc. The Granola arc takes place after the Moro arc, where we get to see a bounty hunter by the name of Granola and his special assistant robot, Eye Patch, which is named Oatmeal, ends up going over to take down one of the most specific and life form bounties ever, a very special life form that he needs to be taken. Eventually, Granola ends up succeeding his mission very clear, and eventually he ends up going over to the person that told him to have assigned that bounty, being Elect. Elect ends up giving him his money and getting paid for it. Eventually, he tells him that Frieza's still alive, and Granola wants to be able to get his revenge on Frieza. Eventually, Elect's brother Gas ends up stopping him from trying to talk to him and stuff, or trying to grab him. Eventually, Granola ends up going back to planet Serial, a home where he has where a special Namekian was at too. Meanwhile, Goku and Vegeta are at Beerus's planet trying to be able to unlock their next potential and training as well. Goku is training with Whis to be able to keep mastering the perfected version of Ultra Instinct, while Vegeta is now training with Beerus, and Beerus is teaching him destructive energy. And eventually we get to see Granola speaking with the Namekians, saying that there are special Dragon Balls that are used in order to be able to be used in order to get and be able to grant wishes. And Granola ends up taking the Dragon Balls and using them to be able to get stronger. However, Granola ends up realizing that getting strong comes at a cost. He ended up sacrificing almost all of his lifespan, well, years of his life technically, to be able to get strong enough to be able to take down some Saiyans, which he ends up realizing that Goku and Vegeta, the only two Saiyans that he found, are still alive. And so Elect ends up tricking them into be able to fight each other. He ends up going over, bringing his two other people to go over to Earth and find Goku and Vegeta. While Goku and Vegeta are both training on Whis' planet, well, not Whis, but Beerus' planet, he ends up, you know, Goku ends up learning how to control Ultra Instinct in different forms, while Beerus ends up giving Vegeta a special earring to show that he's able to use destructive energy now. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta are suddenly alerted by Bulma that people are coming for him, which are Lex's minions. Eventually, they end up taking them over to Planet Cereal to be able to fight against Granola, and Granola was waiting for them with his sniping shot. Eventually, Granola ends up taking away oatmeal and saying that he doesn't really need oatmeal right now because, well, it's basically stopping him from being strong. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta end up fighting against Granola. Granola ends up going after Goku first. They both have an incredibly good fight with Goku trying to use his different forms, but eventually Granola keeps proving that he's a league above them as well. While he starts getting used to his new powers, he ends up losing a bit, but after getting and adapting to his abilities, he's able to take on Goku. Eventually, when Goku goes mastered Ultra Instinct, Goku eventually ends up losing against him because Granola ends up attacking him in a position where he couldn't be able to breathe at all. Eventually, it was Vegeta's turn to go after Granola. Granola ends up fighting him, and Vegeta and him have a really well done fight until Granola ends up taking a bit of the upper hand and shooting Vegeta down. Eventually, Vegeta ends up basically being able to keep on fighting, and he ends up unleashing a very powerful form that a lot of people really love, but it's a form that he got by manifesting the destructive energy from his training with Beerus into a specific form. That, of course, being the one and only Ultra Ego. This form allows Vegeta to basically use destructive energy at its capable, and eventually Vegeta ends up trying his best to be able to take on Granola, but eventually he takes this ability of Ultra Ego allows him Vegeta to take a lot of damage, and he ends up dishing that damage back as a strength. However, Vegeta ends up taking a bit too much damage in this form, and he ends up passing out and out of exhaustion, and also out of being not being able to handle any more damage. And Granola ends up taking him down. It wasn't until Goku tries his best to be able to stop him, and then eventually they start realizing that Elect was the one behind all of this because he wanted to find the Dragon Balls to make sure that Gas, his brother, ends up becoming the strongest being ever because it was their wish. Their wish was to go against Frieza and completely take them down and destroy his empire once and for all. Eventually, Gas ends up fighting both Goku and Vegeta and also Granola as well, since Granola is on the same level as them. Goku and Vegeta end up not being able to take him on, and Granola is the only person that's able to at least defeat Gas. Unfortunately, Gas is too powerful, and all three of them are down. It isn't until, and I'm gonna say this, Frieza pops out of nowhere and completely takes on and destroys Gas with any problems, and then goes after Elect as well, realizing that he was trying to stop anybody from trying to kill him. Eventually, Frieza ends up going over to Goku and Vegeta, and they completely just are in utter shock of how powerful Frieza is. Frieza said to himself that he went over to a different planet where they had the same type of time chamber that Goku and Vegeta uses to train, and he was able to put in about 10 years worth of experience inside that time chamber, not only making him increasingly get stronger with this golden form, but eventually he ends up unlocking a brand new form. The man of the hour himself, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Black Frieza. Black Frieza is a league above his own. In this form, Goku and Vegeta both use Ultra Ego, and Goku ends up using a new form of his called True UI, which he ends up using in the battle with Gas. I forgot to mention it because he doesn't really do much with it because Gas ends up overpowering him. But anyway, Frieza then completely dominates both Goku and Vegeta in their strongest forms that they got now, and completely doesn't kill them because he wasn't after them. He was after Elect and Gas, who were two people trying to stop him from ruling the Empire. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta are able to go back to Beerus' planet, and Vegeta ends up recalling and thinking of how powerful Frieza is now, and realizing exactly how powerful he really is. He ends up wondering exactly what he's able to do to take this new level of threat now. Overall, I mean, that was the granola arc. I really like the granola arc a lot. I think the granola arc is pretty freaking good. This arc has a lot of cool parts. I like Ultra Ego. I like Black Frieza. I do like how Goku gets to use Ultra Instinct, but I'm not a big fan of True UI because I feel like that it's the same thing as UI Sign, except Goku's now using his Saiyan instincts even more now, and in his emotions too. But it kind of just ruins Ultra Instinct. I just hope we get to be able to see Goku fully master this form of Ultra Instinct, the mastered state of it this time, because I feel like him finding his own way with Ultra Instinct is cool and all, but I don't think it's working for him right now. Overall, I do give this arc, I guess, probably a 9 out of 10. I think it's probably one of my favorite arcs in all of Dragon Ball Super. I think it was a really fun read through, and I actually really enjoyed it a lot. I can't wait to see what's going to happen for the Dragon Ball Super manga, but we don't really have much news about it currently. Right now, volume 4024 releases out in Japan like last month ago, and we don't know if the Dragon Ball Super manga is going to continue on after the one shot that we got around February 25th to this year. Eventually, we don't know what's going to happen. I am excited to see if the Dragon Ball Super manga comes out because I really want to see an arc where we get to see Black Frieza go up against other people, because I really do like the volume cover of 24. It's an amazing series of books. I like it. It's a really good book. I just can't believe that we don't get it now, and it kind of sucks that Toyotaro has to deal with ownership issues ever since Toriyama passed away. I'm really am sad that Toriyama passed away because I really wanted the manga to continue on, and I hope that Toyotaro is able to get permission to make any more manga for this. He needs to make more of the Dragon Ball Super manga. I really want him to continue. R.I.P. to Toriyama. I hope you're resting in peace now. And Toyotaro, I hope you're able to get your hands on the Dragon Ball Super manga. We really want to see more of the content. I'm leaving the rest up to you. And Toriyama, thank you so much for creating a special series for me and for a lot of other people. This video was specifically made for you as well. You really helped me make me the person who I am today. I was able to find people I can speak with because of Dragon Ball, and I am so happy to see that you let Dragon Ball in the hands of someone who was just like us, who grew up with this series and loves it a lot. Rest in peace to Toriyama once again, and thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to be making more videos about this. This is a brand new video. It took me a really long time to edit, and I'm finally glad I'm able to make this video. See you guys next time, and I'll probably be able to make more of this. Now, cue the outro.